This is the Entrepreneurial Mind. I'm Dr. Jeff Cornwall. Today's guests are Charlie Brock and Mike Tatum. We'll be back to talk to them about Launch Tennessee in just a moment.
Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by Softlayer.com. We love Softlayer here at Talkapolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at Softlayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Talkapolis, the social media TV network for your city.
We're here today with Charlie Brock and Mike Tatum, and we're going to be talking about Launch Tennessee and a little bit about their conference they have coming up called Southland. So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about what's going on with Launch Tennessee. It's a fairly aggressive plan you guys have laid out, and you've got some pretty lofty goals for what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, we do, Jeff. We really think this is an incredible time for entrepreneurship in Tennessee, and we've got a lot of momentum, and Launch Tennessee is really committed to working to continue the momentum that's been established, build on some of the programs that have been set up, and really help cast a bright light on what's happening here in Tennessee. So we do that through a few different ways. We've got accelerator program running throughout the state. We have 9 accelerators, and we work with each of those accelerators to help bring more entrepreneurs into the ecosystem and help identify and train mentors, and ultimately try to provide access to capital.
Now, are these traditional accelerators, and so they're getting some funding and some mentoring and some space? And
yeah, and it's very much as opposed to incubator, where people typically that's more of a 3 to 4 year kind of shared services and lower rent situation. Most of the accelerators, when companies come in, it's more 10 to 12 weeks, and it's very intensive mentoring. And the idea when those companies graduate from those programs, they are investor ready. So that's really what we're trying to work with each of the accelerators around the state to help further that process for them.
How many businesses have gone through the accelerators so far in Tennessee?
Well, we've just gotten started over the last 16 months really in the program. We've had probably, in terms of graduating from the 12-week program, we've had about 50 companies.
Wow, and good funding rates so far?
Yeah, pretty good. Good. We're getting started. Part of the other initiative of Launch Tennessee is really access to capital. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of well-established angel networks throughout the state. We're trying to. I'm spending time around the state talking to other potential angel leaders about how they can get involved with companies, and whether that's individually or through setting up an angel fund. That's really a lot of it. That's education,
right.
And that's another role that Launch Tennessee plays.
I've got to imagine there's some untapped synergy that goes on across the state. It's amazing. I've been here 10 years, and I'm still amazed at how kind of segmented the 4 different parts of the state are, and there's not as much cooperation as I would like to see, and I think would benefit from.
Boy, that's a great point, Jeff, and that's really one of the key roles that I see of Launch Tennessee playing. And one reason I'm excited and decided to come on and help lead this organization, because I think there's tremendous upside there. So if we can help link mentors and investors and entrepreneurs across the state, so maybe I'm from Chattanooga, and so maybe we have an entrepreneur in Chattanooga that can't get the kind of mentoring or that access to capital because the industry hasn't been a typical Chattanooga kind of industry. But could we be reaching into the Nashville network or into the Memphis network? So Launch Tennessee is really the entity that can help play the role to connect those folks.
So in case folks aren't familiar with the different regions, what are the specialties? I certainly know Nashville well in terms of healthcare and entertainment. And I assume Memphis is good with, I've heard medical devices is a strong market there.
Right,
and
life sciences
right.
And medical devices for sure. Digital media, as you said here in Nashville, and healthcare IT
right.
and healthcare services, incredibly strong. In Chattanooga, really our focus over the last year and a half has been around big data. We've got the gig bandwidth there where we have the fastest internet in the country, so we're trying to think about applications that can take advantage of that. We also have the smart grid, so how do we tie in energy, which is obviously a huge play up in Knoxville as
right.
well with Oak Ridge National Lab. And Knoxville also has tremendous digital media.
Right. Well, and the big data thing is on everybody's hot list in terms of what's coming next. Are there any specific projects that are going on with big data you can talk about at this point?
Well, we have the accelerator program that the Chattanooga accelerator called CoLab runs is called the Gig Tank. So it is really inviting applications from around the country and in fact around the world to come be part of the Chattanooga program for 12 weeks, tie into the gig, have access to up to 40,000 homes that are tied into the gig to test what applications and what's possible in that kind of bandwidth.
Right. Right.
So we're very much that's a
So
differentiator.
we're really on the infant stage of this life cycle of this venture or this industry at this point.
Yeah, we absolutely are.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. And you've been building a staff and kind of growing your team because you've only been on the job for
60 days now.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're an old timer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So what are you looking at in terms of building out your team, and what are you trying to bring in to kind of bolster what you're trying to do?
Well, we're trying to, certainly how do we work with the entrepreneurs and the accelerators around the country, around the state. Also,
Well, we can take over the country. if you
Well,
want.
that's
Sure, why
next.
not?
We'll start
Yeah.
with the state, and then
Yeah.
we'll expand from there.
Yeah.
The commercialization side of it as well. So, are there things that Launch Tennessee can be doing that can help our institutions with getting technologies that have been developed within the institution and matching them up with entrepreneurs and eventually capital? So, how do we work with Oak Ridge? How do we work with Vanderbilt here in Nashville, St. Jude in Memphis? And others to increase the number of licenses and technologies that turn into companies.
And that's something that I think we've lagged on compared to other parts of the country. So that's I'm
it's
glad
a
that's
real
the initiative.
greenfield for us.
It is, and there's some amazing opportunity given those institutions and the untapped ventures that are sitting there.
That's right. That's right. The other thing we're trying to do is really just help. Again, I mentioned shining a light on some of the good things that are happening here in Tennessee and some of the opportunities that we have. So really outreach is a major component of what Launch Tennessee is doing. And that leads into a conference that we're having in June because we're really trying to say how do we get investors and others from around the country to know about what's happening here in Tennessee.
And you brought in a Giants fan all the way from the West Coast to come in and help bring the West Coast here for this event. You want to talk a little bit about the event and
Sure.
and maybe about how it's different than some other technology events that have been going on around the country.
No, absolutely. So first, I'm a Chattanooga native, so I'm a comeback. I've got Tennessee at my heart, right? So that's one of the reasons why I was excited about this. But one of the things we wanted to do with Southland was make a conference that just didn't look like everything else out there in terms of investors and startups in the typical fair. We've got a great asset here called Southern Culture. And there's a lot of things going on. I mean, just some of those things Charlie was talking about, in terms of big data, medical devices. But then there's also, a lot of startups in terms of, things like micro distilleries that are here in the region. And we're going to focus the whole range from people who are building the next, generation media services to building actual real products and manufacturing and logistics, and put them all in one area and talk about them as a holistic kind of evolution of entrepreneurship and technology at the conference.
Well, that's interesting. So you're not just looking at high growth, high potential fundable businesses, but the whole fabric of entrepreneurship?
Well, I think, they all have the potential to be high growth.
Sure.
Right. There's not a limiting factor. It's just there's different types.
But a microbrew is not one that would traditionally attract venture capital money, for example.
Well, no, but
It might attract a venture capitalist at like 6 o'clock, but not necessarily in terms of investment money.
No, but here's the thing: is so being out in the valley and going to a lot of these conferences, we see a lot of technology, right? And we see all the latest and greatest trends. What we don't see maybe sometimes are some of the other types of business that are starting and taking advantage of the new ways to market,
Right.
the new ways to build product, do shipping. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that go on
Interesting.
in with the technologies, and to see it applied to a real business that's being able to put that to market is pretty fascinating.
That's an interesting approach. I like that. That's
Yeah.
good. So give us some highlights of the conference. What if people are going to be attending, what are they going to be able to experience there?
Sure. So we have Sarah Lacey from Pando Daily, who's done a great job. And she's interviewed everybody from Elon Musk,
Right.
to Peter Thiel, and just talked to these giants in the industry. Who's going to be there as a keynote interviewer,
Right.
and we're going to have her doing that. We're going to have people from Twitter, people from Facebook, from all parts of the industry, from product to VC to corporate development and marketing, talking about how we do things in the Valley and what we can learn and bring to the startups and the entrepreneurial environment here in Tennessee.
Do you think there's going to be some learning going back the other way?
Absolutely, and that's part of the hope, right?
Yeah.
Is to really immerse them in everything that's happening from like I said, the whole industry and the whole area and the whole Southeast. And it's a really good way to expose, all these folks who are really steeped in Silicon Valley tech culture, what's going on with the culture and technology here in the Southeast and Tennessee.
It seems like a good time to do this because there's been sort of this flow, both in entertainment and automotive in particular, between California and Tennessee. And I would imagine that there's kind of that awakening of that there is somewhere between New York and Los Angeles that has some opportunity. Are you seeing some receptiveness?
Yeah, absolutely.
of
And
that?
Mike's been just tremendous to our efforts to try to help spread the awareness out there and start to build a bridge to California. And I might mention, as he said, he's a Chattanooga native, and he helped us. He was enormously helpful to us last year in Chattanooga with the inaugural Gig Tank and bringing in folks like Cisco and IBM and others. We're getting more, we're higher up on the radar screen of these folks. And if we can bring them here to Nashville, show them a great time, show them an incredible list of startups from around the Southeast. Because it's hard to get them here just for the best of Nashville or the best of Tennessee startups.
Right.
But can we say we're going to draw from a 12-state region and have the best startups here? And so it's been a really compelling message that we've been talking to them about, and we're getting great receptivity.
And have a little bit of Tennessee fun thrown in and a little bit of Tennessee food, I would imagine?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Very cool, very cool. Any other initiatives you have coming up once that's done? I mean, you've been in the job 60 days, you're going to throw this massive conference.
Right.
What else you got?
Well, that's our early summer conference in the second week of June, and then we're also working on kind of the best of Tennessee. So each accelerator runs a summer program, and then
Right.
that culminates in their demo day, which is a great community celebration. Last year, Jeff, in Chattanooga, we had about 500 people at our demo day, but people weren't writing checks. It was like a graduation. You're
Right.
in the school education business. We've thought about what if we could bring together these companies that have finished up each accelerator and bring them to Nashville at the end of August for a statewide demo day. And let's choose the top 10 that have come through that, and they're part of the Tennessee 10 then. And then we're going to do
I
a
think
road.
the checks are going to start writing.
That's right. So we can reach out to not only statewide investors, but also regional investors to say, we know you can't come to all the individual demo days. You're not going to go to Chattanooga and Tullahoma and Nashville, Memphis, but come to Nashville at the end of August and see the best of the best.
Well, I look forward to that,
Yes.
and I look forward to Southland. I think it's going to be an amazing gig. So appreciate you both being here today.
Great. Thank
you very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.